Hi, I'm Debi Peverill, and you're listening to the annual How to Do Your TD1 form from Painless Financial Training Group. So in 2020, there have been a couple of changes to the form. What happens is the federal government indexes a number of the amounts, and they make some other changes. So what we're going to do is go through the form line by line, box by box, until you can see what numbers you should put in each box to get the correct number on your TD1. This is the federal TD1 form. If you need to file a provincial form, we do have another video on that for Nova Scotia because that's the province I live in. So the purpose of this form is to let your employers know what your situation is so that they can take the appropriate amount of tax from you. This doesn't change your income tax return. This is all about the deduction of income tax from your pay. So if your employers take too much money from you, you will get a refund when you file your 2020 tax return in 2021. If your employers don't take enough tax from you, then you're going to owe money when you file your form, your tax return in 2021. So one of the things that it happens is if you have more than one employer, you have to be very careful not to claim these same credits twice. So the basic personal amount, any of the amounts that you get for dependents, all of that should only be claimed one time because you can only put it on your tax return once. Okay, so let us start with the form. It's a 2-page form, front and back. You can download it. We have the link in the information here. What you need to put in the first part should be fairly easy. Your name, your date of birth, and your social insurance number. So those things have to be put in the very first part of the form. Then we get into box 1. Now box 1 is why this TD1 is late this year, because the federal government has made some changes to that. If you've watched the videos in prior or you've filled in your TD1 in other years, you know we used to have a pre-printed number in box 1. And this year for 2020, if you've got the latest form, the amount is not pre-printed. So the deal is, if you make less than $150,473 in 2020, then the exemption that you should put in box 1 is $13,229. If you make more than $214,000, $368, then your exemption has dropped to $12,298. If your income's in between the 150 and the 214 numbers that I just quoted, there's a worksheet to prorate it. Again, perhaps you just go with the lowest number anyway, because if you do end up having more tax taken off than you needed, well, you are going to get it back. So how many worksheets do you want to fill in? The rest of the boxes, box 2 is the Canadian Caregiver amount. It's for children under the age of 18, and it applies to infirm children, and that amount is $2,273 for each child under the age of 18. Box 3 applies to people who are over 65. If you are not over 65 and will not be over 65 during 2020, you can safely ignore this form. For people who are over 65, if you earn $38,508 or less, then this box should have the amount $7,637 put in it. There is a partial claim available on the worksheet, which I'll talk about at the end of this video. If you make more than $89,422 in 2020, then you are not able to claim the age amount. In between those two numbers, the $38,000 and the $89,000, there's proration. Box 4 is the pension amount. If you don't receive a pension, you can skip this box. If you do receive a pension, the amount you can claim is $2,000 as long as you're receiving at least $2,000 in pension. If you're receiving less than $2,000 in pension, then claim the lesser amount. So that box is $2,000 or the amount of pension you actually receive. Box 5 is the tuition that you are paying yourself. So it has to be greater than $100. And it is the amount that you as a student are paying for tuition in 2020. So that amount goes in box 5. Box 6 is for the disability tax credit. You will know if you're receiving the disability tax credit because you have applied for it. You apply for that credit, you receive permission from CRA to claim it, and from then on you claim the disability amount. This year it is $8,576. Box 7 is if you support a spouse And spouse is defined to include a common law partner, a married partner, and a partner of either gender. If their income is less than $12,298, then you will enter the difference in box 7 of the amount of $12,298 and their income. So once their income is over $12,298, of course, there is no claim for your spouse. They are not considered dependent if their income is over that amount. Box 8 is a situation where you do not have a spouse, but you do have a child. So you claim your child as an equivalent to a spouse. So the same amount applies, the $12,298, but it's less likely that your child has a significant income. So you would claim the difference between your child's income and the $12,298 on the line that is box 8. Box 9 is the Canada Caregiver amount. If you support an infirm spouse, or you have no spouse but do have an infirm eligible dependent under the age of 18, then there's a claim, and we're going to talk about that in the worksheet. The box 10 is the Canada Caregiver amount for dependents who are 18 years of age or older. Again, we're going to talk about it on the worksheet. So if you don't have either of these situations, you can carry on, just put a dash in those boxes. Box 11 is an amount that you can transfer from your spouse, either the age exemption, which we talked about earlier, the pension income amount, the $2,000, and tuition up to a maximum of $5,000, and the disability amount. So if you have a spouse who doesn't need to use their age, pension, disability, or tuition, then you can claim that, and you would figure out that amount in box 11. Box 12 is the amount transferred from a dependent that is not a spouse, and this is the disability or tuition. Those are the only two things that can be transferred from a person who is not a spouse. So a disability credit we talked about, if the person who's disabled cannot claim it themselves, this dependent of yours, then you can claim it. The tuition, again, there's a maximum of only $5,000 that can be transferred. The tuition that has been paid by a dependent, typically a child, that is greater than $5,000 cannot be transferred to another person. So you have all of the totals on this page, unless you need to go to the worksheet. You would add up everything from box 1 to box 12, and you put that total in box 13. And what that adds up to basically is the amount of income you can earn in a year before you're going to have any income tax deducted. On page 2, there's a place to put the fact that you have more than one employer, and remember that's important because you can only claim these credits once. So if you've claimed them on your first employer, when you fill out the TD1 for your second employer, you just let them know you've already claimed it, and they won't take those amounts into account when they're calculating the amount of tax they should deduct from your paycheck. If you're a non-resident, you should seek competent professional advice. There's nothing in this video that typically applies to non-residents. If you need to fill out a provincial form, again, we have some other videos on that. There's also a place to put additional tax. If you would like the government to have your money throughout the year and give it back to you next year in April, then you can pick an amount that you'd like to have withheld in addition to your normal amount of tax, and you should get a refund if you do that. Okay, so let's talk about the people who needed to do a worksheet. The age amount. If your estimated income is less than $38,508, you got the full exemption. If your income is above that, then you take the amount that's above $38,508, you multiply it by 15%, you subtract that number from the exemption, which is the $7,637, and that difference is your age credit. Okay, so that credit totally disappears once your income got to the over $80,000 amount we talked about earlier. The Canada Caregiver worksheet is for the spouse or child under 18. And you take the base amount of the $24,361 and you subtract the dependent's income. The maximum claim is $7,276. So that, again, the base amount, $24,361, less the income being earned by either your spouse or by the child that's under 18. For the child over 18, it's the same thing. You take the base amount of the $24,361, subtract the dependent's income. Okay, so that's the worksheet. Both the TD1 and the worksheet, we have the links, in the information attached to this video so you can get the actual forms. Your employer perhaps may give you the form as well. So it sounds like it's a lot, but if you don't have a dependent you can claim or children you can claim and you're not over age 65 and you're not disabled, it's pretty much the number you put in box 1 is going to fall to the bottom line there, and it's going to be the number you put in box 13. I hope you find this helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know.